In the heart of medieval Alexandria, where the Mediterranean Sea kissed the edges of 1,000 stories, there stood the Pharos Lighthouse, a tower of pale marble and fire, taller than the ambitions of kings. Its light had guided sailors home since the days of Cleopatra, and it was said that on quiet nights, the ghosts of lost ships could be seen dancing in its golden glow. But few knew the truth of who tended its flame. The prince, Amir, was born to a sultan who ruled the desert and the shore. Yet Amir's heart belonged not to jewels or thrones but to the sea. He longed to understand its whispers, its secrets, its lullabies. So one moonless night, he shed his silken robes, tied his curls beneath a sailor's cap, and slipped into the shadows of the lighthouse. There he met Idris, the old keeper whose face was etched like a map of the stars. "You'll need stronger hands than yours to feed this fire," Idris grumbled, eyeing the prince's soft palms. But Amir pleaded, and Idris, who had no children, only the lighthouse, relented. By day, Amir swept ash from the tower steps and polished the great bronze mirror that magnified the flame. Idris taught him to read the wind by the scent of salt, to predict storms by the flight of gulls. "The sea speaks in riddles," the old man said, "but she never lies." By night, when the lighthouse kindled its beacon, Amir climbed to the highest balcony. There he would lean against the warm stone and listen. Ships arrived like weary giants, their sails sighing as they docked. Sailors, salt-crusted and sunburnt, gathered beneath the tower to trade tales before journeying onward. Amir heard stories of mermaids who sang in Cypriot coves, of Viking longships glimpsed in northern fogs, of spice merchants who claimed to have bottled the scent of dawn. Their voices rose like smoke, blending with the crash of waves, and Amir would close his eyes, imagining each voyage as it curled through the air. One evening, a storm-stranded sailor with a voice like gravel spoke of an island where time moved backward. "Tides there wash away wrinkles," he murmured. "Children grow younger and old men become boys again, chasing minnows in the shallows." The sailor's words slowed, heavy with exhaustion, and soon his tale dissolved into the rhythmic creak of ships rocking in the harbor. Another night, a woman from a distant land, her robes dyed indigo, her wrists chiming with silver, shared a legend about the moon. "She grows lonely," the woman said, "so she spins threads of light and lowers them into the sea. Those who catch them dream of flying." As she spoke, the lighthouse flame flickered, casting shadows that danced like kites on the walls. Idris often joined Amir, puffing on a pipe filled with sage. "Stories are the sea's currency," he said, "but you mustn't hoard them. Let them go like birds." Together, they'd watch the stories rise, carried by the wind to the edges of the world. Years passed. Idris grew frail, his hands trembling as he lit the evening flame. One autumn night, he placed the fire-tending rod in Amir's grasp. "The lighthouse chooses its keepers," he said. "It's always chosen you." That winter, Idris vanished. Some set into the sea, others into the stars. Amir, now a man, remained. He never reclaimed his title, for he'd found his kingdom in the tower. To this day, sailors swear that when the Pharos flame burns brightest, they hear two voices in the wind. One young, one old, harmonizing with the tides. And if you drift to sleep beneath its glow, you might dream of Amir, still leaning from the balcony, gathering stories like seashells, each one softer than the last, until the waves carry you into deeper waters where time itself dissolves. Years turned like the pages of an ancient book, and Amir's life settled into the rhythm of the lighthouse, the crackle of the flame, the sigh of the waves, the constellations wheeling overhead. Yet the sea, ever restless, began to murmur new secrets. One evening, as the last embers of sunset dissolved into indigo, a ship unlike any other drifted into the harbor. Its sails were patched with starlight, and its hull gleamed like mother of pearl. No crew walked its decks, but a single lantern hung at its bow, flickering with a light that mirrored the Pharos flame. Amir, now weathered and wise, descended the tower's spiral stairs to meet it. As he stepped onto the dock, the lantern's flame pulsed, and a voice, neither young nor old but timeless as the tide, spoke without words. It was a sound felt rather than heard, like the hum of a shell pressed to the ear. "Keeper of stories," it breathed, "the sea has need of you." The ship's plank lowered, and Amir, though his heart trembled, boarded. The moment his foot touched the deck, the world blurred. The lighthouse shrank to a distant spark, and the ship glided into a realm where the sky and sea merged into liquid silver. Ghostly shores materialized, beaches of crushed moonlight, caves where waves hummed hymns, and forests of coral that chimed like wind chimes. The ship stopped at an island veiled in mist, where a figure awaited, a woman with hair like kelp and eyes that shifted like sand. She was the Leora, spirit of the liminal tides, guardian of thresholds between waking and dreaming. "You've gathered stories for lifetimes," she said, her voice echoing the lighthouse's warmth. "Now you must mend one." She led him to a pool where the water reflected not the sky, but scenes of longing. A sailor's unfinished letter, a child's toy washed ashore, a melody half remembered by a widow. "These are stories the sea could not carry home," Leora sighed. "They linger, aching for an ending." Amir knelt, and instinctively he began to hum, a wordless tune Idris had taught him long ago. The pool rippled, and one by one, the fractured tales rose like bubbles, merging with his song. The widow's melody found its chorus. The sailor's letter bloomed into a love poem. The toy spun into a legend of a boy who rode dolphins. Leora smiled. The lighthouse does not just guide ships. It guides stories. When Amir returned, dawn was breaking. The phantom ship had vanished, but the pool's stories now lived in his marrow. That night, as he lit the Pharos flame, he did something new. He sang. His voice wove through the beacon's glow, spinning tales into the light. Sailors on distant decks swore they saw visions in the flame. Faces of loved ones, forgotten memories, answers to questions they'd never asked aloud. Even the stars leaned closer, their light dimming to listen. Idris's spirit often joined him now, a warm presence at his shoulder. "You see," the old keeper's voice seemed to say, "stories are not meant to be kept. They're meant to become." By day, Amir still swept ashes and greeted sailors. But by night, he sang stories into the flame, each one a balm for the sea's quiet sorrows. The Pharos became more than a guide. It became a weaver of dreams, a bridge between lost and found. To this day, if you sleep by the shore, you might hear Amir's song in the crash of waves. It tells of a prince who traded a crown for a flame, of a ship that sails the edge of dreams, and of stories that never truly end.